This is the program that I use to program each of the XB Arduinos. I added a button, and so we can see here that there's a button defined on channel 13. So that's the middle pin on the button, and then I have an output high that's on pin 12, and I have a button state, and I'm just setting that state when I read it. I'm going to read something and put it into that variable, so I'm just setting that to 0. And so then I added down here under my void setup, I added a pin mode for for the button and for my output high. So the reason I'm doing this is I want to have a high and ground as the two options that my switch can be. And so I'm just going to use the output high pin, I think it's 12. Yep. And I'm just going to leave that as I make it an output, and then I write it high, so it'll always be high. So that's plugging into one side of my switch, and the other side of my switch is plugged into ground. And the middle pin I have plugged into button pin, which is 13. So that's what I'm doing here, setting the modes and then writing output high. And then the next thing I changed was here I'm reading the button state. So I'm reading button pin, which is button pin is 13. And so I'm reading that, and I have it on low, so I have it switch low. And when I switch high, then the XB should start reading the sensor and sending the sensor values. So that seems to work. I have that on both of my Arduino XBs, and I have them both turned to UART so that they both should be transmitting through the XBs. So I'll show you here. I've connected to my coordinator, and then I have one of my XBs connected just to power for the other USB port, and the other one has a 9-volt battery. And so if I just turn this on, you can see that this is old, so I'm going to turn it off. I'm going to delete those frames, and now I'm going to turn on, I think this is 8901, and so when I turn that on, we should start seeing frames, and we do. And so we can see that that's 5, 6, 7, 8. And so you can see in 5, 6, 7, 8, if I go down and move my thing around, I'm shaking my my sensor right now. You can see it changing, and so that one's on. And now I can turn it off, and it'll stop transmitting. See, it stopped at 17. And if I clear it, then and I'll turn on the 8901, and we should start to see that transmitting. You can see right away it's transmitting. The values stay the same pretty much. And now if I start to shake it, you can see that the values change as I go down. And so now what I want to know is I'm going to turn this one off, and I'm going to turn them both on. So I'm going to clear these values, and I'm going to try to turn them both on at the same time. Ready, set, go. Now we see 8901 and then 5, 6, 7, 8. So you can see they transmit one after the other, and we get data. So one thing about the program here that I changed was I changed the button state, but then I also changed the delay to 1000. So that means 1 second. So there's a 1 second delay, and it'll only send when the button state is high. And we can see that seems to be changing every second. Looks like it's changing, and it's sending data from both of the XBs every second.